And in the middle of them, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about his breast with a golden girdle. His head and hair white as like wool, white as snow. His eyes as a flame of fire, and his feet unto fine brass, as though they burned in a furnace, and his voice like the sound of many waters. Now, as Jesus in chapters 2 and 3 is dictating to John a message for the churches individually, each church, Jesus will take a portion of this description of himself, and this saith he who holds the 7 stars in his right hand. And he will take a portion of this description of Jesus in describing himself as he is ministering and writing to the 7 churches, addressing with the issues and the problems that did exist within the 7 churches. So he held in his right hand the 7 stars. Out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in its strength. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand on me, and he said to me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that lives and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, so be it. And I have the keys of hell and death. When Jesus ascended, he opened up the prison to those that were bound, and he led the captives from their captivity. I have the keys, he said, of hell and of death. He now commands John, write the things which you have seen, the things which are, and the things which will be after these things. Hereafter, or in the Greek it is metatauta, after these things. Here's the key to the understanding of the book of Revelation. It's divided into 3 major components. Chapter 1, he writes what he saw, the vision of Jesus Christ, describes him in his future glory. That's write the things which you have seen. Secondly, write the things which are. That is, the things of the church age. And to the 7 churches, these are the things which are. They presently still are. We are still living in the church age. We're living close to the end of the church age, but we are still living in the church age. So write the things that will happen or transpire in the church age. And then the things which will be after these things. What's going to happen after the church is taken out of the world? In chapter 4, verse 1, John begins the 4th chapter saying, using this same Greek word metatauta, and after these things, what things? The things of the church. I saw a door open in heaven, and the first voice was as of a trumpet saying to me, Come up hither, and I will show you things which must be after these things, or metatauta, so that you won't be confused. The Lord in chapter 4, verse 1, uses this same phrase, metatauta, after these things, so that you know that you've entered into the 3rd section of the book of Revelation. The things that will take place after the church things. Now, we're going to be a little while in the church things, a couple of weeks, as we're dealing with the history of the church and the failure of the church, basically. And then we will get into the things that will take place after the church is out. Now that's where the book really gets exciting. A lot of people say, oh, can we just skip chapters 2 and 3 and let's jump into the 4? No, you need to know 2 and 3 before you get to chapter 4. You'll be ready for it by that time. So that begins the third section of the book. Now, if you can get this key, now you can understand the book of Revelation so much better, because you realize that he is writing, first of all, this vision he sees of Christ in his glorified form, and then he writes the messages of Jesus to the churches, and then he gets into what's going to happen once the church is taken out of the world, the things that will be after the church things. That's where we get into the real future part of the book of Revelation. The mystery, he said, of the 7 stars. Now, here's an interesting thing. A lot of people say, you know, you don't want to try and understand the book of Revelation. It's filled with symbols and all, and nobody really understands it. And so stay clear of the book of Revelation. I think that that's a message from Satan, because it tells us, blessed are those that read and hear the words. In other words, it's encouraging you to get into Revelation. But Satan would like to rob you from the blessings. So stay away from Revelation. Nobody understands it, symbol and so forth. And so don't, try. And he's trying to rob you of the blessings of understanding this book. So whenever it does speak, and it just spoke in symbols, I turned and I saw the 7 golden candlesticks, and I saw, the right hand, the 7 stars, and out of his mouth the sharp sword with 2 edges and so forth. And he's using symbolic language, but the interesting thing is, when he uses symbolic language, he then explains the symbols. So it's not a hidden book. It's not a book of mystery where God is trying to hide the truth. In fact, that's just the opposite of what the word revelation is. It's not hiding the truth, it's revealing the truth. It's revealing the future. The word in the Greek is apocalypse, and the word apocalypse is unveiling, taking the veil off, letting you see. Years ago, many, many years ago, I played the violin in the school orchestra when I was in 6th grade. And we were living in Ventura, and there at the courthouse in Ventura, they had erected a statue of Father Juanapero Serra, who had established the mission there in Ventura. And so the school orchestra was there to play at this ceremony. And when we got there, here's this big canvas that's covering this statue that is there. And you couldn't see it. It's covered completely by this canvas. And so they went through the ceremony. The mayor spoke, and people from the city council, and I think the priest there in Ventura spoke. And then after all of the ceremony, they had this crane, and they lifted up the canvas, and you could see the statue then of Father Juanapero Serra. And that was the apocalypse. It was the unveiling. It's letting you see something that has been veiled, not understood or revealed now, but now the unveiling, and you see the statue that is there. And so the book of Revelation is the unveiling of Jesus Christ, taking the veil off so that you can see our Lord in the future and his place in the future, and of course our future.